Lemar.
Mackenzie.
Okay.
Saw
So I
what
have
you're
a
doing
question.
there.
I know. Thank you. Okay. So I have a question for you today.
Yeah. All right.
That I thought could be fun. Maybe troublemaking. I don't know. We're about to find out. So in this
Love it.
film that we're about to talk about, we have some people, no spoilers, who have to go on the run for a hot minute. So I was just curious if you would like go off the grid tomorrow, no prep, no warning, no planning.
Okay.
Who could be the one person that could know your actual location?
Like your ride or die. Like
Your ride or die. Who do you like? I also think of it as like who won't crack under pressure. You know, who do you trust? Like,
I feel like you are trying to make trouble here. I feel like if I don't say my girlfriend, that is gonna probably get me broken up.
I can tell her
with
not
when
to
this
listen to
episode
this
airs.
one.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. We could work it out.
You're saying because you threw a lot of caveats in there. Who do you trust? Who won't crack under pressure? You are definitely needling right now.
I mean, if it
I'm
happens.
gonna cheat and say that I would trust Gambit, my cat, my orange cat, because he doesn't speak English, so he can't crack under pressure. His name is Gambit, so he's already, down to fucking like go
Wow.
hard, blow shit up.
What a cop out.
Yes.
What a cop out. He can't help you. He can't help you if shit goes awry. Like, they got to be your support
I think you're
system.
underestimating the amount of chaos that he can incite. At the beginning of this, when they talk about like fireworks, like something big and whatever. That's kind of his MO. He runs around the apartment, breaks shit, knocks stuff. Is a distraction. I think he would do great in this scenario.
Okay.
The next Zootopia should be like this plot.
I still think you're in trouble because you didn't pick Janelle. So if we're getting right down to it, I think
I know you were. This whole cold open was just to get me in trouble. So thank you for that. How about you?
Listen, we haven't seen each other in a minute. I just wanted to have a good time. Okay, let's see. So this is maybe also kind of a cop out, but it's actually pretty sincere.
Okay.
My mom. Like, fair. My mom is a bad bitch. And I know that if like she was under pressure, I just think of like an interrogation room, and like them putting the screws to her, and she just wouldn't break, Okay. I just know she wouldn't break. So I think my mom.
And your mom listens to this podcast, yeah?
Sometimes, not always. Like she tries to listen to the ones that she's seen the movie, Okay. So yeah.
I don't know that I have the relationship with my mom that you guys have, where you can call her a bad bitch on like recorded medium. It's like cool. I don't think I could say that about my mom without her getting offended.
I mean, I think she's gonna take it in the spirit that it was intended if she hears it, which is that it is a compliment. I would never call my mom a genuine bitch, or I would be murdered. Let's be honest. Like I would be unalived as a result of that comment. But yeah, bad bitch is a compliment. Bad bitch is a compliment.
Yes. All right. Well, thanks for that. Jesus Christ. I'm
texting Janelle after this, just so you know. Just so you know. All right, let's roll. Welcome back to We Drink and We Watch Things. I'm Mackenzie.
I'm Lamar.
And we are continuing our Oscars month. As you guys know, or if you're new here, you maybe don't know, I spend the month of February, early March trying to watch every single Oscar-nominated film, which is quite a feat. And sweet Lamar comes along for the ride and doesn't make me watch 4 more movies on top of that. So this week, we're going to talk about One Battle After Another.
Which I think is like, it's that and Hamnet are kind of the 2 big favorites for Best Picture, yeah?
Sinners. I think Sinners is up there. I mean, it's definitely a contender. I don't know if it's a favorite, but I'd say it's a contender.
Yeah, and we cover, for those asking, why aren't you guys doing Sinners during Oscar month? It's because we did it when it came out.
We already did it.
Go back to the archive. We said we had very good things to say. I was going to say,
go listen to us fangirl, basically. Yeah. Like, I loved it. I think I mean, even if it doesn't win, I just think it's, 1, I do think it's a contender, but 2, I think there's a real argument for it to be made for it to be Best Picture. And I mean, again, go listen to the ep. We basically, I think, make that case, to be honest.
It's an experience for sure.
Yeah.
I like it. Cool.
But anyways, this one, before we dig into all of this jazz, what are we drinking?
Well, it's no longer sober January, so we are drinking,
Yeah,
everybody.
we are
So
drinking again.
yeah. Well, this one is pretty simple. We basically took the original French 75 and at Craft World, as always, put a fun little spin on it for us. So we're replacing the gin with bourbon in this. So it's 2 ounces of bourbon, 0.75 ounces of lemon juice, and 0.75 ounces of honey syrup. Stir that in a mixing glass, strain it into a flute, and then top it off with bubbles, Prosecco, whatever you got on hand. And there you go. And we are calling this the new French 75 because it is a French 75. We're throwing bourbon in there. It is. And it packs a little bit of a punch because of that, I feel like.
It does. It does. All right. Well, cheers. I put mine in a fancy edgy flute. Get it?
Because you're edgy. I just got regular type.
It's an edgy cocktail. I will say, pro tip to the folks, the honey syrup, I always forget that you have to mix this. So I did it really fast right before. So I maybe needed to mix mine better, but I will say it settles a little. Mine is settling. So I wish I had brought a spoon to or a straw to keep stirring it perhaps. So anyway, pro tip if you're going to do it.
Well, there you go. Tasty drink.
Tasty, tasty. Okay. So as we said, we're talking one battle after another. This is a Paul Thomas Anderson that's rated pretty decently. It's a 7.7 out of 10 on IMDb, which, I mean, for a best picture, do we think that's a good rating? I mean, for a best picture nom?
Who do we think was going to see this film? I wonder if, depending on political leanings or anything like that, that could impact your opinion of this. I'm not saying it should be like a 9.5. I don't think it's a perfect movie, but I wouldn't be surprised if there's some swaying there of I didn't like the message of what this was trying to say, essentially.
Yeah. Well, okay. So there's already so many comments that I have. We'll get into that. Let's look at the Rotten Tomatoes. So Rotten Tomatoes critics were at 94% and audiences were at 85%. So a little bit higher, trending a little higher than the IMDbers of the world, which I guess maybe checks out a little. I think it's interesting because generally I think this is one of the more popcorn audience worthy Paul Thomas Anderson movies that we could argue not some of his work is a bit avant-garde, esoteric, not mainstream, whatever you want to call it. It's not typically the popcorn blockbuster flick.
Yeah, whereas this is action, drama, comedy, all world, and it's a very enjoyable, for as heavy as some of the subject matter is, it's a very enjoyable film to watch. I had fun watching this. Yeah.
Alrighty, let's like we said, Paul Thomas Anderson's our director here. He's also the writer. He's done things like Punch Drunk Love that we've talked about before, referenced before, There Will Be Blood. Phantom Thread is one that I think gets overlooked, not because by mainstream audience, I should say, because it was nominated for several things, but that was one that was, I didn't love it on a first watch either. So it's he's a very specific style. And he also did Magnolia and Boogie Nights and some of these other ones that were maybe a bit more popular, accessible as well.
He also does a lot of Haim music videos, which now makes total sense of why one of the sisters from Haim is in this. And she was also in Licorice Pizza that he did. But let me ask you this. Do you ever, or did you ever, mix up Paul Thomas Anderson with Paul W.S. Anderson? He is the director that is married to Mia Jovovich and does all the Resident Evil movies and not a lot else. It was very confusing when they were both coming up around the same time. And I'm like, oh, wow, the guy who did Resident Evil did There Will Be Blood. Good for him. And that was not the case.
I have literally never made that mistake, actually. I'm sorry that I can't sit in solidarity with you on that one.
It's okay. I figured out a system to help me remember. And it's that Paul T. Anderson, the T stands for Thomas. W.S. Anderson stands for Paul, wow, shitty, Anderson. Because I just know him from one semi-decent Resident Evil movie and 8 really bad ones. He did Event Horizon, which I did like. But aside from that, it's a crapshoot going into one.
I love that you kept going with the Resident Evil, though. That's how many you've seen. You're they're all bad except this one, but I'm going to keep watching it.
Eventually they have to, right? There's got to be a payoff. Oh, yeah.
Someday.
Fool me 5 times, Paul. Shame on me.
Now you've built up some resentment too. It sounds like, I'm just saying. But anyways, our other writer on this one is the source material. Thomas Pynchon did the novel Vineland, which I looked into. I haven't read, but I looked into a little bit. It's very similar, except the source material is paced a bit earlier. So like the modern period that we're watching is like Reagan era, and you're looking back at like Vietnam era and earlier kind of anarchistic movements and things like that. So it's very similar concept though. Major cast and crew here. Obviously Leo. Leo's back. I feel like we've talked about Leo a lot lately. I don't know why, but I can't even think of the last one, but for some reason he feels top of mind to me. But he's done all the things. The Titanics, the What's Eating Gilbert Grape, the, what is it? Don't Look Up that we've talked about. He's done. You guys know him. We don't need to talk about him. He's fine.
He turned down apparently Paul Thomas Anderson. He turned down the lead in Boogie Nights, and that was way back. He turned it down to do Titanic. And
I was going to say it was a timing thing. Yeah.
Yeah. In your head, can you play out if those two had switched places and Mark Wahlberg had Leo's career at this point? Do you think Leo is jealous that he doesn't have Mark Wahlberg's career? Like he could have been in Ted 2 or the other guys. Like he's like, damn it.
Oh, I think he's looking back and feeling pretty good about his choices.
I think he's doing okay.
I think he's fine. Even with the door, drama, I think he's made it through, to be honest. So we also have Sean Penn here, who plays the incredibly unlikable but very well performed Colonel Stephen J. Lockjaw. I need y'all to just...
What a name.
Lockjaw. I mean, talk about a on the nose name for a character. I can't. Mystic River, I think, is one of the things he's most well known for. I love him in Milk. I thought, I mean, one, that's just a great movie, great performance, incredible person that the story is about. But I just think it's one of his more unique roles where he's really doing something really different and really challenging. I mean, he's a great actor, but that to me was one of the ones.
Did he win for that? Did he win for Milk?
I think he won for Mystic River.
Okay.
I don't think it was Milk. I could be wrong. I know it was nominated. It was great.
Also, if you're listening to this and you're friends or family of Sean Penn, can you check on him? I just want to make sure he's okay. I saw him at the Golden Globes just chain smoking in the crowd, and I'm like,
he literally can't stop. Have you ever watched interviews of him? He smokes in every single interview too. He just won't stop. And I think it was one time where he's like on camera and they're telling him like, could you not smoke in here? And he's like, no.
Do you want the interview or not?
I mean, you're interviewing me. We could stop this anytime, but I will be smoking. He's gonna get lung cancer. I mean, something. You do you, boo. But I'm worried about you. We're worried about you. Benicio Del Toro, who we did talk about very recently, also does an incredible performance here as Sensei Sergio St. Carlos, which is also what a name. But a great role for him. Obviously, we just talked about him in Sicario, but known for a bazillion things, including, one of my favorites is The Usual Suspects, of course, and just, all kinds of things.
I feel like Benicio, in my head, I can't speak for everybody else, but I feel like maybe we all, or at least I, have underrated Benicio Del Toro in the past. Like, I think of him almost as a character actor up until like 5 years ago. Like, I'm like, oh, he always plays those kind of zany, outlandish, mumbles his lines kind of character. But then when you look at how he can play that character in Sicario, that is intimidating and terrifying and mysterious, and then he transitions in this to just being this laid back, chill, likable dude. I think he's got a ton more range than I gave him credit for. So if anybody else out there feels like, watch this movie, I think he's great.
He does have quite a bit of range. I think it's fair to say he's underestimated, but he does have quite a range. And I just love the choices that he makes. I mean, we'll get into it, but he makes some really interesting choices here. And we talked about that in Sicario. He chose to like speak less and really cut the script. And he doesn't necessarily do that here, but he does some really interesting choices here. So a couple more folks. Regina Hall plays Deandra. She's been in a lot of stuff, but the thing that I thought this would be unexpected for me to like this movie, but I loved her in Girls Trip. Okay. She was in Scary Movie as well, of course.
That was like her breakout.
Well known. Yeah. That was her breakout. But Girls Trip is like, I think if most people know me, have met me, I mean, I do kind of watch everything, but I feel like most people would be like, she's not gonna watch that. She's not gonna like that. That movie was fucking funny. Like that was like
I
a
saw
silly,
that.
funny
I
movie.
think
I'm
I
gonna be honest.
randomly saw that in theaters. I think I had just moved to Austin and I didn't,
Wow.
yeah, and I was just like, I want to go to this cool Alamo Drafthouse place as many times as possible. So I think I went and saw
Oh.
Girls Trip, and I remember having a good time. It was funny.
It was pretty funny.
Hmm.
Tiffany Haddish is in that as well, and she was just, also stole the scene. So very funny. We also have Taylor, who plays Perfidia. She has done a bazillion music videos because she's a singer, which
Mm.
I had heard like kind of her name vaguely. I don't really know her music, so I didn't know how many, albums and how many songs she had done until I went through her her discography and her music videos and all that. So she's been in a gazillion of those things, and she's starting to get into acting, including this, obviously. But she also is in, I haven't seen it yet because I'm on my Oscar run, but The Rip that just came out on Netflix, she's in. And she's also in Straw, which is like a series. So looks like she's going to be, doing more and more. Have you seen The Rip? Have you seen anything else?
I've heard very mixed reviews. I've heard it's like
So have I.
kind of the stuff. I mean, I don't want to say this because we are doing a Netflix film next week, but I've just heard that Netflix really just pays the actors a ton of money, wants to crank these films out as quickly as possible, and that it's a very just paint by numbers sort of action thriller that's nothing special, is what I've heard.
Basically, that's what my friend said. She was like, it's a good for Netflix action movie.
Yep.
Like that's basically what it is. But
I think there's
love
like
both
a
of them and I'll
reason
watch it. And I love an action movie, as we've learned. So I'll go watch it. Who cares?
The way I think it's very telling that typically what happens is within a week or two of a movie like that coming out on Netflix, everyone's like, "Oh, did you watch this? Did you watch Extraction? Did you watch this? Did you?" And people are like asking you, and then you never fucking hear about that movie again.
Yeah.
Until the sequel comes out. Like they are very just flash in the pan. Hey, I can watch this thing on Netflix. Let me watch it. Just
crank it out overnight. Yeah. Totally. And I think like that's their model now, is just like crank out a couple of those every quarter or whatever. And but the most entertaining part about it for me has been watching the press tour of Matt Damon and Ben Affleck. If you haven't experienced any of those interviews that have been happening as a result of this promotion, it's pretty hilarious. So go check it out. Okay, last one I want to talk about before we get into it. Chase Infinity plays Willa, who is plays basically Bob and Perfidia's daughter. And she's done Presumed Innocent is the only thing that I think most people would know her from. That's like a short TV series. I want to say it's on Apple TV.
I was going to say, this was her debut, right?
Yeah. And this is her debut film. Exactly. And she's been in same thing music videos as well, but this is her debut film.
She does well.
Which she does. Okay. Quick plot summary. When their enemy resurfaces after 16 years, a group of ex-revolutionaries reunite to rescue the daughter of one of their own. Yeah. Accurate.
That's what happens. Right.
Yeah. Good job. Okay, kids, turn around, don't drown. It's spoiler time. We have a lot of thoughts. I have a lot of thoughts. I have a lot of questions.
Give me one of your questions. What's the question you got?
I mean, well, you already kind of said that you really enjoyed it and thought it was like a fun watch.
Mm-hmm.
I will lead off with Paul Thomas Anderson tends to not be my speed on a first watch. Like sometimes I got to rewatch to like something. And I can't always quite put my finger on it, to be honest. And this is one of those for me. Like I started rewatching it. I didn't finish it, but I started rewatching it for that reason. Cause I was like, I want to give it another chance. I did not dislike it. I want to be clear. I just didn't think it was as good as everyone else thought it was. Like everyone is again just raving about how good it is. It's a Best Picture nominee, the performances, and I think the performances are great. And I think there are definitely like some high points and things, but I think it's maybe just where my expectations were going in. I just didn't think it lived up to them. I didn't think it was that amazing. So I don't know. I guess my like hot take question for you at the beginning is, you said that you had a really good time watching it. Yeah. Is it because you think it's funny? Is it because you think it's like the story's unique? Like what is the I don't know, silver bullet for you maybe?
I think it's not one. I think the silver bullet is actually a combination of things that this does well, where it kept me guessing throughout on first watch. Okay. And then I think the second time through, I just realized how much good stuff is in here that's a little different. The first, I want to say, once we jump to the future and we jump right, I think we spend 10 minutes establishing where we are after the time jump. And then it just we hit the ground running. And then from then
Mhm.
on, for the next hour or so, is balls to the wall, like the characters trying to escape, essentially, to get to a safe place. It slows down in the back half a little bit, but then you get that insanely, I think, unique car chase that I hadn't
Yeah.
seen done.
That's
It's a,
very cool.
I
That's
hate to jump to the end, but I just feel like that's the coolest car chase I've ever seen, where the cars are never within like 10, like 50 feet of each other until the very end.
yeah.
I think it breaks up, gives you something worth waiting for after the back half. But I just think the comedy in this is great. The juxtaposition between Benicio and Leo's characters and the way they play off each other. There's a lot to like here. And I'm not saying it's a perfect movie, but I just think it does a lot of things really well.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm interested, like, just as we talk through it, like how
Mm-hmm.
that'll kind of reframe things for me. Because again, I didn't dislike it. What I thought was interesting was partially the pacing. I thought the pacing was kind of odd. It was an interesting
Yeah.
and different story structure, which I think is again, it's interesting. I don't know that I loved it, but it was interesting because you get dumped in at the beginning to the revolution, right? Like
Yeah.
we are in the middle of the revolution. We're getting introduced to these key characters and also, basically what they are fighting against. And it's very timely for us, honestly, just in the current political landscape. It feels like you could insert that situation to now if you really wanted to. So it's compelling in that way. The pacing is compelling. You're getting the snapshot of these characters. You're learning a lot about Perfidia. You're learning a lot about Bob. And he's interesting because even while he's like in it, it feels like he's kind of constantly trying to prove himself and prove that he's in it and prove that he's committed. And even her mother at one point tells him, like, you're so not appropriate for my daughter. She
Mm-hmm.
comes from a long line of revolutionaries. Like, this is who we are, and you're kind of a wannabe, you know? And I thought that was such an interesting conversation and call out of like her problem with him is not that he is, a bad influence or even that he's white and she's black or something like that. It's just like, you're not a true
You can't
revolutionary. I'm
hang.
not
Yeah.
buying it. You can't hang, And I thought that was such an interesting reason for disapproval. So I like that it just subverts a lot of that. Like we're subverting who the prime revolutionary is, and it's this incredibly strong black woman, which is awesome. And we're subverting this love story. It's a very different love story. The approval of the mother or disapproval of the mother is for different reasons. And then you also slow way down. Like we're dropped right in at the top. The pacing is pretty intense. And then we slow way down after they disappear. You go into this
Mm-hmm.
like retired, revolutionary lifestyle. And it's like takes you into like a slow hum. So I thought that was interesting. I thought those things were different and compelling. On
That's
first watch, they were a weird ride,
that the characters in Paul Thomas Anderson films are always unique. They are not
Mm-hmm.
super tropey. I think Leo is like the stoner deadbeat dad who also is kind of a badass. Is fun. That's probably the most like
But he's also a really
predictable.
good dad. Like
Yeah,
he's a stoner
yeah,
dad, but he's like loves his daughter,
yes. Like
and
would do
like,
anything for
yeah,
her.
again, subverts that. I like it.
But you mentioned Perfidia, and at the beginning we think, at least I thought, I was like, okay, we're going to stick with the two of them and she's going to kind of drive this story. So when she
Yeah.
turns state witness and this badass decides that she's going to turn in all her friends and get a bunch of them killed and arrested, that is complicated. We as the viewers don't
Right.
necessarily know, okay, do I still like her? And almost, again, jumping forward to the end, like when the letter comes back, me as a viewer, I don't want her to be redeemed in any capacity. I'm like, fuck you, you are a rat. I get why we have it to make the daughter feel better,
Right.
but that's kind of what the characters. That's another reason why I like this. Is no, every character feels complex and not
Right.
just run of the mill, even if they're fucking zany as hell, like Sean Penn's character is.
Yeah, they're all really complicated and they're just not one dimensional and you're not rooting for any one person, I think, for almost the entire movie
Right.
because nobody is that great, right? Like Perfidia is strong and she has this incredible, drive to right these wrongs, but you could always see a problem with how she goes about it, right? With her methods. You
Mm-hmm.
could see that as problematic potentially. You could see as problematic the fact that she doesn't prioritize her daughter and that she's jealous of her daughter's relationship with her
Yep.
father, quote unquote father. But he also, you could see how he like, again, to your point, he's like a stoner dad and he's like losing his motivation and maybe he wasn't fully committed to the revolution and like, shouldn't you commit to your ideals? But also he's being a good dad by prioritizing her safety. Like there's just, you could look at each of these characters from a really multi-dimensional way. And I think one of the ones we have to spend a good amount of time on is the Colonel, because he is obsessed with perfidia
Mm-hmm.
and he is a white nationalist. He's a fascist. He's a soldier. He's racist in every other context, but the one in which he is obsessed with her. And he basically blackmails her into having a sexual relationship with him so that she can continue, quote, her activities.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think it's a really interesting topic of what he is willing to compromise in terms of his values to have this, you know, relationship that would be deemed, you know, disqualifying for him in this other community that he's trying to get into, the, you know, like Christmas whatever
Yeah.
club basically. So it's really interesting to see that dynamic play out. And while she does seem blackmailed, she also seems completely in her own autonomy when she does it. So I want to be clear, like I don't think she's actually held hostage by this guy in a way that she takes seriously in that moment. I think she makes a conscious choice to go do this with him because she gets some satisfaction out of fucking with this guy, you know?
Yeah.
And so it's really, that whole dynamic is really, like you're saying, it's very complex. It's very layered.
It's different, and I don't want to turn this into like a race thing, but I do want to correct. I think the proper term is she gets white mailed, not blackmailed, because I don't want to offend Sean Penn in this instance. But no, this movie I wrote down, there is so much going on in here, and it doesn't surprise me who the director and the writer is, because you could have made this just a very simple, these guys used to be revolutionaries, now there's people on
Mm-hmm.
their tail, right? Like that's an easy move. That is
Mm-hmm.
a Netflix original waiting to happen, right? But with this, you get the white supremacist storyline, which you don't need in order to make this film. You don't have to have
Mm-mm.
that he's trying to get into this secret society of
Right.
powerful billionaire white men, and that they're looking into his background. You get the entire story. I completely forgot until second viewing the entire story of the tracker, and he is a
Mm-hmm.
very complex, complicated character of like he's trying to walk a line and he's going through some
Mm-hmm.
shit of what are his principles. There's 3 or
Right.
4 plot lines in this you do not have to include, but I'm glad that they do, because again it makes it feel unique to me, and that's another reason why I feel like this one's special.
Yeah, and I think he's really challenging to watch for that reason. I mean, he's like this incel adjacent
Yeah.
guy who is high ranking in the military and is dangerous and has power but is deeply insecure, and
Mm-hmm.
he needs all these other forms of external validation. And again, he's compromising this core value to the degree that he does extreme things later that we'll talk about, but that really are at odds with, again, his obsession with perfidia, and how much of that is about his own self-loathing and his own insecurity and his, you know, all these things. And I think also that takes us to perfidia, who is really complicated as well, right? Like, one, she chooses to have this sexual
I
relationship
was
with
gonna
him.
say, I don't mean to cut you off, but you said
No, go
earlier
ahead.
that he like almost blackmails her into this relationship.
Kind of.
I read the power dynamic she walks into their first encounter when she's like, "Get it up."
Yep.
That to me was, I mean, yes, that is her being in
That was
power, and
fucking wild. Let's be
yeah,
honest. Talk about an opener. I was like, okay, let's pop right
no,
in there.
not
Like,
like yes. But like she seems into this almost like BDSM, like this power dynamic of like
mm-hmm,
telling a strong
mm-hmm.
white man in power what the fuck to do, or I'm gonna shoot you in the head. And then even when they do meet up in the hotel room, he's asking, he's like, can I take this side? She's like, shut the fuck up, just like telling him to be
She's
quiet, like got
still
the
the
gun to his head.
dominating force,
Yeah.
100%.
So I'm
Yeah.
like, I mean, she's blackmailed into this, but I feel like part of her is totally fine with like putting
I
this
think
white dude
she's
on his knees.
letting
Basically.
herself be blackmailed, I guess is the best way I would say
Fair.
it. Like there's
Yeah.
two different intentions happening here, right? He thinks he's blackmailing her. He thinks he's got her under his thumb and that she wants to keep up with her activities and that he can
Right.
stop her. He's very self-important. He has a lot of, again, we're talking about insecurity and all these things. He thinks he can really stop her and has control over her. He needs to believe that. She chooses to let him believe that though.
Mhm.
Like she lets him have that mindset. She goes to that room. Again, could she have gotten out of that? Could she have done a number of things to him or handled that exact first interaction differently? I think so. I mean, I think she's proven to us over and over like that she can assert her power when and where she wants. And so it's very interesting to me. I don't know that I have the answer as to why necessarily, but I think it's interesting to me that she chooses to go to that room and have that relationship with him and control him and dominate him. And I do think that was a power dynamic thing, right? Like she's there to show him, quote unquote, like who's in charge. But then you have to flip that against her turning state's witness, as you said.
Dude,
Of,
that
like,
that's the first moment in the movie where you're just like fucking bummed out because
the fuck? Yeah.
I was gonna lead with this to start the episode. I'm very glad that we're recording this, I think like 3 weeks after I rewatched it, because I ended up rewatching this the night before to this point, like the latest shooting in Minneapolis. And I was just like, dude, if we were covering this tomorrow, I wouldn't even want to talk about the movie. I would just talk about the message of this film and how relevant it is so we'll just, I mean, I don't want to go deep down a rabbit hole. We'll just say fuck ICE, if that's okay with you.
Fuck ICE so hard.
So if you're still, listening to this and that offends you, I just recommend not listening to our podcast. But
I was going to say, we're not for you.
But you're watching this, right, with that, we're in the middle of this kind of like very relevant situation right now.
Yes.
And as you're watching the beginning of this, you're like, fuck yeah, this is what we should be doing. Like there
100%.
has to be some sort of consequence. Like politicians and police and all these organizations should not be without consequence. And then you fucking have this main character who you think is a badass turn state's witness.
Who you think is the one to do it.
Yes.
And then she flips the script.
And it breaks your heart.
And I think that's one of the things that I struggle with throughout the film for a number of reasons. One, this is not who we're being shown this woman is, and we don't want her to be, right? If you're going to root for somebody, she's kind of somebody that you're rooting for. I will again contend, I don't think there's anybody that you're rooting for 100% in this film because of how complicated and layered they are. That being said, she's one of them. You want her mission, again, in the context of the world that we're in, to succeed in some ways. And then she fucks her own revolution in a number of ways, both literally and figuratively fucks her own revolution. And it's so enraging, but it has also lasting consequences. And that's the thing that I think is really hard. It's the shift in the story for me that makes the rest of it really hard to get behind. That's because fair. Her dad, or her partner rather, is a really good dad to their daughter and creates this hero worship image of her. She died and she was a martyr and she died for the cause, and like, we are a family of revolutionaries, and that's why we're, all these things. And you're like, but also she bitched out, and then she bitches out, she upends the entire system, all her people get taken away, right, except the ones who get away, and then she runs. So like, her cowardice
it's pure,
in those moments are
like
just
selfish survivalism. It's bad.
Incredibly selfish. And it's the moment you had seen tendrils of it with her daughter, where she's like, I'm not here to be a mom. I'm here to be a revolutionary. And my thing is, you want both for her, right? You want her to be able to mom and be a revolutionary, but she's making a choice, and she just continues to be cowardly. And I think, like, again, that's just a big shift in the story, and the way he treats her is almost not fair, because she doesn't really live up to that. She doesn't live up to that reputation, really.
It is. And we get the reveal. I mean, it's not a reveal to us, but the daughter gets the reveal later. Like, no, your mom was a rat. We fucking hate her. And it is interesting. That is what, to speak to what you said at the beginning. I can understand that this movie has kind of weaknesses in some capacity. I get why it's not a 9.0 on IMDb or whatever, because I think that we are privy to much more. So I think the daughter's story falls slightly, not flat entirely, but the lead up of she loves her mom, she thinks her mom's a hero, she thinks her mom's a hero, to then being told that, it happens really, really quickly. There's something about that plot line where I'm like, I think there's one or two scenes missing that really would have aided that moment where she's having to process what she just learned about her mom. Like, there's one scene
Yeah.
missing.
Yeah, I think that's fair because you end up, you're not fully bought into her as like the next generation.
Right.
And you also feel like she doesn't have a deep connection to what she just learned yet. And you also know the truth behind what her mom actually did, you know? And so it's really hard for those dots to be connected without some kind of
Right.
filler there, I think. And I think what's interesting about Bob as a character is he's shifting from being like the demolition guy, who's literally the one blowing shit up, you
Yeah.
know, to being this like paranoid stoner father. And that could be a good or a bad thing, right? It's like he wants to protect his daughter, and he's sort of, what I think is interesting is that you see this like pacing shift, but he's like settling. It's
Mm-hmm.
like you know, it's like I'm settling down, you know, but he's still got that anxiety of a revolutionary. And I think this film is vacillating between telling you that he's a sellout or that he's a realist and that he's a good father, because he even says that to her kind of when she makes the decision to go leave the house and be the
Yeah.
revolutionary. He's like, this is our daughter, we are a family now, like this is priority uno, which when you're responsible for a child's life, like that should be true, you know, that should be true. In my opinion, that should be true, that your child is your number one priority. And she sees him as a sellout in that moment, and he sees her as not accepting her reality. And I think it's going back and forth kind of throughout.
It is that,
you
like
know?
like we said earlier, it's like the characters and the situations are not a straight line. Things evolve. I mean,
Right.
people evolve over time. That's real life,
Right.
right? So this guy who wanted nothing but to give his daughter the best life, you fast forward 16 years and he's just like laying on the couch smoking weed, judging her,
Yeah.
and she's calling him Bob instead of Dad. So clearly he fucked up at some point, right?
I don't know. I have friends who have very good relationships with their parents and call them by their names. And I feel like that's kind of like a white people thing, but I could be wrong.
I'm trying to
White
think
people
off.
weigh
I
in.
have
Do y'all call
never
your parents
heard
by
one
their
of my
name?
friends call their parents their first name unless they have
I
a
have
not great
multiple
relationship.
friends. And again, like the common theme is they are white kids calling their
Name them
parents
here.
by their name.
Name each of your friends so that we can. I want to get to the bottom of this.
I've
Anyway,
told them to their face. I'm like, that's some weird white people shit. I don't understand. My mom would slap me so hard. I don't even know.
can I hard pivot a little bit here?
No, you're not allowed.
Okay, well I'm gonna
I'm
do my
just
best to try. The music, the score in this,
Oh,
incredible.
it's so good. That's a good one. It's a
That
good call out. There
that
were
just
multiple points where I was like, that's a really good fucking song too.
it's
Like, you
it
know?
reminds me a bit of Birdman. Like it's this chaotic,
Oh yeah.
jazzy, just a lot of piano, but it's
Mm-hmm.
off kilter, like out of
Mm-hmm.
rhythm,
Mm-hmm.
jazzy piano that just scores this entire chaotic stretch of the movie where Bob is trying to, escape and whatnot and get to his daughter, and the whole sequence with him and Sergio throughout. I think that without the score, this does not carry the same weight as you're watching these scenes.
Well, and again, even the song choices, like when you are not the score pieces, but like the actual soundtrack choices,
Mm-hmm.
were also really compelling to me. And I was trying to look up while you were talking some of the songs, and I'll have to come back to it at some point. But there were some songs
Shut up
at
and
multiple
dance with me,
points.
because that's what they're dancing. You're like, that one hit. You're like, you're at the prom.
You're like, this is legit. This is legit. No, there's multiple points where I'm like, that's a really good song, or that really fits here in a way that like you wouldn't expect, didn't
Mm-hmm.
expect, But I agree. I think the score is really powerful. And at a later scene, one of the ones you already called out in the chase scene, for example, that's like the most atypical chase scene of all time. That's
Dude, but
very well done as
but
well.
the hills, like them going over and I
Yeah.
love how that plays into the ending of the chase
So
as
good.
well. But I've never seen, legitimately, I don't think I've ever seen, and I haven't seen a ton of car chase movies, but I've
I
never
have.
seen that where it's like the focus is on just the cars going over the hills and you're seeing them get closer and closer, but they're shut. You never feel like, oh,
Yeah.
they're gonna ram them off the road. It's just, oh shit, they're getting close. They're gonna catch up eventually. And I love how that plays out.
You usually, what's really compelling about that is that you usually only see one shot of that, right? At least in the films
Mm-hmm.
I've seen, that up and down the hill thing, you'll only see one shot of that usually. And again, not in a chase scene, just in a, like, I've seen that here or there in films, but it's one
Yeah.
time and it's not over a prolonged period or distance. And what's interesting here is not only is it over a prolonged period and distance and different angles and all the things, it is also, again, to your point, a chase. And it is such a, again, with the pacing, like it's such an oddly paced chase for that reason, because they're both getting nearer and seemingly not even aware of it because of these hills and these angles and things like that. And so it makes it almost more dangerous too, because you don't know what's coming over the next curve or the hill or what have you. And it was a very interesting way to do it. I thought it was really, really fascinating to watch.
It's just like pure tension. There,
Yep.
nobody's
Nope.
sticking a gun out the window and trying to shoot at the other cars. There's no threat of that. Again, there's no physical threat of like one of them is going to hit the other one or rear end them or try to drive them off the road. It's purely just like 6 minutes of three cars gradually just building up tension until we finally get the big reveal of like, wow, Will is pretty fucking smart and parks her car right after a hill to get him. And then you get that super tense standoff with her dad. And I like how that plays out, where she's, forced to take a life for the first
Yeah.
time. Hopefully it's the last time as well. But her dad shows up. And at this point, she has just lost so much. I don't want to say
She has no
trust, but
anchor
like,
anymore.
yeah, it's like, what
Yeah.
is reality? This person I
Hmm.
thought I knew is this certified badass, but he's been lying to me all these years about so many different things. And I like
Right.
that she comes really, like, she keeps the gun on him until he convinces her. And then we get the
Yeah.
hug. And that moment is super powerful.
That is a very powerful moment. And it's one that, like, it hits on so many levels, because we have to talk again about the Lockjaw revelation relative to the revelation about her mom and now
Mm-hmm.
her dad, who is not biologically her dad, and coming to terms with that. So, like, again, to your point, she's processing so much, she doesn't trust this person, but that is so compelling because she is realizing that biology doesn't matter at this point. This is the man who does love her and has genuinely put her first the whole time and raised her and believes her to be his daughter, and it is her dad, at the end of the day. But you have this moment of tension of like, come on, girl, like he's the only good one here for you, like accept him. And it's really beautiful and cathartic. But I also think it's really interesting to see her kind of inherit these mantles. You said this thing of her being like,
Mm-hmm.
she's so smart and she's responsive in this life or death situation and she saves herself, and like, more power to her. And you're going, how much of that is perfidia? How much of that is
Yeah.
her dad, Bob, her dad? And how much of this is the Colonel? How much of this is Stephen, right? Like, she
Mm-hmm.
has all these influences, and some of them are from the revolution, are from this anti-fascist movement, and some of them are from this like fascist legacy. And it's very interesting that it sits in this one person, and I don't think you can deny the influence of all of that, right? And so I think you're
Yeah.
kind of forced to look at that in this moment of she's being tactical and she's being revolutionary and she's being like her mom and powerful and independent, and it's a very fascinating turn for her as a character.
Yeah, I think it's one of the characters at the nunnery that says to her something about like, you have the blood of a rat or whatever, and rats are bad for, like, she basically, but somebody points out, I see your mother in you, but that's not necessarily a good thing. Like, you are
Yeah.
trouble. So I'm totally on board with everything you're saying. I did make the joke to Janelle when Leo and her have that embrace. I was like, if ever there were a time to quote Yondu from Guardians 2, just being like, he may have been your father, but he wasn't your daddy. Like, couldn't Leo have just busted that out, and like convinced her? But
I don't know that that's PTA style, but
it's like
right,
just
maybe.
borrowing quotes.
Close,
We're
close.
gonna quote Marvel.
I
But
also love that you're like, get thee to a nunnery, like not a convent,
is
a
that it's
nunnery.
well, we did just do Hamnet, so there you
It's
go.
true. You're inspired. You're
Yeah,
inspired.
I am. But I think the last major thing that we've kind of touched on, but I just Dude, I fucking love the Sergio Bob dynamic. I love how
Yeah.
cool, calm, and collected Sergio is throughout the entire thing of just he
Mm-hmm.
knows the exit strategy, he's rounding everybody up, introducing Bob to everyone in the house, like nothing is a big deal. Rescues him the next day, but then you have Bob's neurotic ass just crawling around like army crawling, and Sergio's like,
Mm-hmm.
get off the mat, whatever it's called. He's like, get off of there, you're walking on it with shoes. But I love that dynamic throughout. It's so, and it just creates so many fun comedic moments, I feel like.
He, like you said, he just has such range, and I think people underestimate that. He is so funny, but I also think he's maybe the only character that has a true north pointing moral compass, right? Like
Yes.
he at the end of the
Yes.
day is the only one who truly is like, this is who I am. I'm holding my ground. There's no compromising. And by the way, it's in the service of something good. He's like the Latino Harriet Tubman. And it's the cutest thing I've ever seen. And he also just like he has created this underground resistance network that is very subtle and quiet. And it is not about the revolution, right? It is about saving people. And it's
It's
in my
about
opinion,
humanity. Yeah.
right. It's
Yeah.
about humanity and it's about protecting people. It's not about blowing up buildings. It's not about any of that, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
just about protecting people. And I think in this context, it's the one thing where you can go like, this is somebody who's truly serving a pure cause, right? It's just these people. But he does it, like you said, with such like calm, cool, collect, funny. His front as a sensei is somehow also perfect and atypical for, again, a Latino man. And it's just so funny how he applies that in his physicality, in their little like bromance,
Yeah.
and the way he gets pulled over by the cops and drives,
Does the
he
little
shoves
like
Leo out of the car and then
and
does
his
a
little
little dance on
dance.
the
Yeah.
line. Like, oh my God, I watched an interview with him talking about that. It was so hysterical. He's just like, he just made, again, some really compelling choices
Choices.
here. And I really, really like what he
Yeah.
chose to do. I also just have to comment for the umpteenth time. I don't know if I've said this in other Leo films before, but like that fucking guy's voice has never exited puberty fully. He screams and he squeaks. Like it never fails to crack me up because it's like he yells the like "Viva la Revolucion" and he's like thanking Sergio later too, and his voice cracks every time, and you're just like Leo, like what? It's hilarious. I'm like he's
Yeah.
gonna do this until he's 80. Apparently, it's so funny to me.
It works well in this context, I think. Him going off on the radio operator, whatever you want to call the contact person on the phone when he doesn't know the codes and all. And I love how that has like it's like a three section comedy payoff of their interactions, and then him finally getting to meet him and just like giving him shit of like, dude, I've been doing this since before you were born. Like, what the fuck are you doing questioning me?
Yeah,
But the
yeah.
comedy in this is brilliant. I love that. And just, yeah, Benicio Del Toro is so fucking likable. Even just his first, when he first appears, because we watched Sicario, what, like 3 weeks ago, a month ago? And
Yeah.
so now to see his first scene be that Willa is doing her movements in his class, and he just leans in really cool, calm, and sweet, and is like, "You're not breathing," and like he's so gentle. And I'm like, who is this man? I remember the fucking assassin mercenary from Sicario, and again, I did not recognize your game, BDT.
Yeah, he did great. And again, like a sensei, like what a like, chill dude to come out of that after hard left turn after Sicario. But I like also like Willa. I think it's compelling about her too that like her perception of her dad is rooted in limited information. And it's interesting that again, like going back to the nature versus nurture and the inherited traits kind of thing, right? Like she does has this sort of natural propensity to have her own edge in her own rebelliousness and her own, anarchist, tendencies. And I think it's cool that like she's doing karate, she's trying to, get out there. And the way we see her exit the film after all this is that hasn't really changed. She's going to a protest in Oakland. And I just think it's interesting that she seems to be representative of this next generation that is she's not giving up on these causes. She's going to handle it maybe differently than everybody before her has. But she still has this core value system that's like, I have to go protest. I have to go have my voice heard. And I think that's cool.
That part absolutely lands for me. as I said before, I think the letter from mom rings a bit hollow, but that's purely because of the character. It's not that I
Yeah.
think it's bad writing or anything like that. It's just for me personally, I'm like, fuck her. She got her friends killed and betrayed everyone she knew. But
Yeah.
I understand why Willa needs this moment, and she needs some form of closure
She
and
needs the
knowing that her mom is
catharsis.
out there and cares for her. So it does have that
But I
payoff where
just
she
wonder if we believe, like you're saying, it rings hollow, and like, does it ring hollow because we just don't believe that she cares that much about her daughter?
people change, like we said. So maybe 15, however many years later, maybe whenever she wrote that letter,
Maybe.
she realized, okay, I fucked up too. Like I've
Yeah.
had a change of heart. So I think it has a good payoff. Willa hugging Bob, I think, is a really touching, emotional final moment. And then
Yeah.
her going to the protests and Bob just like chilling on the couch, taking a selfie, like mellowing out, showing that he's had some growth throughout this too.
Yeah,
So
he got a phone, y'all. He was allowed to he was
I
okay with a
like when he
phone.
doesn't know how the backwards camera works. Like he's like, "How do I
He
get the thing to
turns it,
turn around?" So he turns it and takes the
turns
photo
it
that way.
around.
That's great. Yeah, again, the
I
comedy,
can also
brilliant.
imagine Leonardo DiCaprio being a Luddite, so somehow it like really worked for me as well. I was like,
Yeah,
you
I could
strike
see
me as
that.
somebody who has
Yeah,
a flip phone. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like,
Yes. That just I laugh so much throughout the entire escape sequence when they're on the rooftops, and it feels like they had the skateboard kids intentionally like trying to do like Ninja Turtle moves as they're jumping across the
hmm
rooftops. They're like
hmm
bringing their legs and arms up and elbows up, and then him
and I love that he
falling.
fell, and they're
Yeah,
like, he fell off the roof, man. Like,
just immediately gets tased, and the cops like, "What's your last name? What's your last name?" Batman. Just the comedy in this is brilliant. Yeah.
he's just not built for the revolution, man. You know what I mean? Like, he really wants to be, but he's like,
Mm-hmm.
unless he's setting bombs and running, it's like not his vibe, It's kind of
Yeah.
hilarious.
The only other thing that I would want to throw in at the end here that get to your point of like things people might not have liked, I didn't need Lockjaw to survive the crash. I didn't feel like the character needed more closure than what we got. I guess maybe the thought is this guy's been a fucking prick this entire film and is like threatening a child and willing to go to all these, lengths and dark places just to get into a fucking white supremacist club. We hate him. So maybe the logic is we need to bring him back because he needs an even worse death than what we got. So we get to see him with the facial scars and the disfigurements. It's like, oh, he got fucked up once and now he's going to die anyway 5 minutes later. I guess that's the logic.
He could have
Right?
just died in the car, if you ask me. But I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, maybe that's what they're going for. I don't know.
Yeah,
I
like it
agree. I
wasn't a
don't think
good
that was
enough. It was too quick a death, maybe. I don't know.
maybe, but it was like, I don't know. It was like a high intensity death, and like the car's kind of, he's rolled and crashed and he's bleeding out of, everything. Like, I don't know. That's good enough for me. I mean, what's going to be better? Right? You know what I mean? Like, unless he's on his knees and she gets to freaking execution style take him
Yeah,
out for his sins. Like, what? I mean, I don't know. I just don't envision. I think the planet personally is better off with him just being dead. Just dead. Any version of dead is fine for me. So I don't think it was necessary either. But yeah, I don't know. I
I
agree.
mean,
I think like what your assessment is probably as close as we're going to get to a reason why
the
he should
the
still be around.
only the only thing that we get out of it, aside from like, okay, he's really fucked up, he's recovered, but now he dies anyway, is his excuse for how his daughter was born. I objectively, like, our word aside, I get why we're not comfortable with that. But when he says I was reverse raped, I think she was a sperm thief, a semen demon. Like, he's like, my body was like, my mind was not functioning because I was drugged, but my tower was still erect. His explanation of how he came to get someone pregnant against his will, just the words and the performance by Sean Penn, I think is like worth it for keeping that character alive, because you're seeing him kind of grovel at the feet of these men that are going to murder him in 2 minutes. But that's I guess the only other thing that it adds to the movie itself.
It does add, I guess, or I affirms the fact that he is just an incel weasel.
Yeah.
Like, he's gonna weaponize. This is the thing that makes me so angry about him as a character and people like him in the real world, of like, he is weaponizing things that truly happen to people that are
Mm-hmm.
terrible,
Yeah.
like people being sexually assaulted or held against their will, or having things done to them in their body, or having things taken from them in their body that they did not allow, and being forced to have those things come to fruition in the form of children or otherwise, whatever it may be. And he is now taking that and trying to weaponize it for himself and use it as a defense, when if on the shoe were on the other foot, these things would not be excuses for
Right.
the other people, right? They would be, it's okay, it's another one of those, okay for me but not for thee, and it makes me fucking enraged. And
Yeah, dude.
so yeah, let's pop him. I don't care how, let's just get rid of this fucking guy. And I hate that character, hate him so much, which I believe, I guess, is a testament to what a good job Sean Penn did. Because I'm
Yeah.
like, I want to stab you in the eyeball. Like, this guy is terrible. So I also love, though, that he does get, I do like the karma of like his people taking him out. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
like you're still not good enough for us after all that. Like you
right,
survived this. He's walking through the desert like a badass, all bloody,
right.
and nope,
Ugh.
we're just gonna kill him off anyway. Yeah.
Right, right. Yeah. No, that part is satisfying for sure. But anyways, I will say the performance is really compelling. Lots of funny laughs. I have some trouble with certain characters, but
Mm-hmm.
overall, I think it's one of those. At least again for me, I think of Paul Thomas Anderson generally. For me, it has so many layers to it. So I think most of them need more than one watch for
Yeah.
almost all the ones that I've seen. So, what did you think? What was your rating here? Probably.
Well, I'll shout out really quick just because I feel like we didn't touch on her at all since the opening credits here. But Regina Hall, like, good on you, girl. Like,
Yeah.
scary movie to this. I think she is such. When you talk about likable
She does
characters in this, it's
great.
her
Yeah.
and I think Sensei or Sergio are the two most
Yeah.
likable characters. She does not seem to get wishy-washy
Yeah.
at any point with what
Yeah.
her moral compass is, and I
We don't
think
get
she has
enough
a
of her, to be honest.
yeah,
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 she's
she's kind of
great,
like
but we
out of
don't
the
get
loop. You
enough of
get that
her.
they have that she
Mhm.
and Bob have like a relationship, a vibe of some sort of friendship, and like that's really what we need out of it. But yeah, I think good for you, Regina Hall, is the last thing I'll say there. But rating
Yeah.
wise, I mean, I've watched it twice. It's not perfect. I do think some of the stuff between when Leo gets arrested up until the kind of the car chase. Some of that stuff drags a little bit. I think we spend a little bit too much time at the convent. The scene with
The
Willa and
nunnery.
Lockjaw, tense as it is, the nunnery, tense as it is, that probably could have shaved a couple minutes there if I'm being super picky.
Right.
But yeah, I really, really fucking enjoy this. I would say it's probably like a 9 for me. I think it's really damn good.
Wow.
Yeah, it's not perfect. There's things I would change. And again, the Lockjaw thing, maybe it's not the most satisfying ending, but yeah, I'll go solid 9 for me. How about you?
Wow, that's impressive. This might be the biggest disparity we've had in a hot minute.
Maybe like
Um,
6? Goddamn.
no, not a six, not a six. But I just, like I said, I didn't finish the second watch, so I wanted to. I just ran out of time. And it was compelling. So maybe again, this would change a little bit on a full second watch. But I I'm so let down by Perfidia. And like I said, I think it informs a lot of the action afterward for me. And the pacing, I have a problem with the pace, not the atypical approach to the pacing, just the pacing. Like, I think it's interesting that we're dumped in at this 100 miles an hour situation, and then
Yeah.
it kind of slows and all this. I think that's symbolic in its own way about his settling, their settling into this different life, and da da da. So it's interesting, but I agree that there are parts that take too long.
Yeah.
And I think that they need to be trimmed a bit. And I really love a handful of scenes that jump out at me as being like, these are really strong. But I didn't walk away like everyone else being like, I fucking
Blown
loved that.
away. Yeah.
You know what I
That's
mean?
fair.
I can't argue that. I can't pretend like I walked out of the film going, that was really fun. I was like, there were some cool parts. That was interesting. It was compelling. So I think I would say like a 7. Like a
Okay,
7.
that's surprisingly like I mean, I thought you were gonna go like 8, maybe 7 is so you're giving
Yeah.
this a C minus if we're going school scoring. I know that that's
I just
different
think
than a
if we're
10-point
going
scale,
gut
but
check again, not taking a second
okay.
full, run at it. When I finished it the first time, if you had asked me as soon as I was done, I would have said like a 6.5. talking through this, there's again a lot more that I remember now that was compelling or interesting and definitely worthy of a watch. But yeah, I just I don't think it's a best picture winner. Like if it wins best picture, to me that's going to be an atrocity. Like I like Over Sinners, for example, right? I would be like, that's
Okay.
ridiculous to me.
If we had the full Teyanataylor Sean Penn sex scene, would that increase the score? Did you feel like we didn't explore that enough?
No, I was deeply grossed out.
You were like,
by that
how
situation,
freaky
if we're
does
being
this
honest.
get? I need to know. Okay.
I think it's implied that it gets pretty freaky if we're being honest,
yeah.
you know?
I will say, like, as we wrap up here, I read something from Paul Thomas Anderson where he said intentionally I mean, there are cell phones in this, obviously, but when I watch it, I was like, wait, when is this supposed to be? Because there's a 16-year gap, but it's like there's already issues with immigration and they're trying to free people and blah, blah, blah. And then we jump forward. And I'm trying to put a timestamp on it. And he said he intentionally left that vague because he wants this movie to not age with time, right?
Right.
I sincerely fucking hope this movie ages poorly, only in the respect of like, I hope we're not dealing with this kind of government and like police force and military bullshit in, 10, 20 years. I cross my fingers that this movie becomes irrelevant, in that way.
Yeah. I hope we're not still fighting fascists,
that'd be nice.
20, 30 years.
Nice,
and
it's been almost
caging humans as if they're animals and deciding that people of any origin are less than or not worthy of being treated as full, autonomous, beautiful, and worthy people. So if we are, then can fuck all the way off. I deeply agree. I hope this ages really poorly. Yeah. And I'm going to close out on fuck ice again. Just
fuck them.
Fuck them. Fuck them. All right, kids. Thanks for joining. Come back next week where we are going to do another Oscars movie. Like we said, this next selection is, I think, a fun one. Probably atypical for us, but it was a phenomenon. People said lots of great things about it. I didn't watch it until this week, but it's an interesting one. It was an animation nom, K-pop Demon Hunters. Here we fucking go.
I'm excited for because last year we made it a point to do Flow, which was a Best Animated Picture nominee. And I feel like every year from now, it is really nice to do at least one of the animation pictures. So I'm excited.
Even though that one was heavier than we anticipated, but like in a beautiful way. This one I think is just fun.
It's fun, and the music's great. So at the very least, you get a really good soundtrack.
Yeah. All right. In the meantime,
follow us on our socials. We drink and we watch things on Instagram. We're not on TikTok anymore.
We're not on TikTok.
TikTok got bought by some fucking American, I don't know, giant corporation and is now being sort of weaponized. So that's awesome. But yeah,
again, if you're confused by any of this, like you shouldn't.
Yeah, if you haven't gotten the theme of the podcast this week, guys, we feel a certain way. So we are no longer on TikTok, but we are on
Science
Instagram.
Is real. All humans are valid. Everyone is welcome.
Get your vaccines. All that good stuff. Vote. Be allowed to vote. Don't
be allowed to vote.
Yeah. So we'll see you at the midterms. But this is the right movie to be doing this for. I hope we're not as political in K-pop Demon Hunters, but who knows? Who knows? You can also email us anytime at wedrinkandwewatchthingspod@gmail.com. Let us know your thoughts, opinions, things we messed up, fun facts about the movie that we missed, future movies you want us to do, themes, all that good stuff. And we will see you next week.
Indeed we will. All righty. For now, though, go have a drink and watch a thing. Cheers.
Cheers.